Welcome back to Detroit Wants to Know. We're coming to you from Orchard Maple Family Dental Center in lovely West Bloomfield, Michigan. My friends, a couple weeks ago, I was laying in my bed, soundly asleep, and I heard a racket from 2 houses away. The ex-girlfriend of my neighbor had come onto the boat and actually assaulted my neighbor and his girlfriend, and while her friend actually held them down. So she brought her muscle, which is about a 5'5" woman that weighed reportedly 195 pounds. She beats up the boyfriend. The ex-girlfriend beats up the current girlfriend. They rob them, and then they shoot it out. Yes, this is in my lovely neighborhood. And I got to thinking, I said, shouldn't that guy had gotten a PPO, personal protection order? So I decided to ask my good friend and sponsor, Sabrina Cronin, about it. Attorney Cronin, there was a wild shootout 2 doors away. A woman beat up a man. A Baby D-esque. Did you ever see Next Friday? She was just like Baby D. All right?
Right.
Should the guy have gotten a PPO against his ex-girlfriend?
Well, in that instance, the one you just described, there were several crimes committed, and the police should have been called. And
they did show up. It only took them 10 minutes to get there. Once they were called, this is after the shooting stopped.
Right. And in that instance, when criminal charges are brought, there's typically no contact provisions in place. Now, a PPO is usually petitioned for in the court in which the crime occurred, or in the jurisdiction for the, for instance, if it were in Wayne County or if it were in Oakland County, you go to that particular circuit court, you file a petition. And when PPOs are initiated, it's usually before a crime occurs, and that's the very essence of a PPO.
So a PPO keeps somebody from touching you or being within a certain distance of you? What does it do?
If you have a reasonable fear of somebody assaulting you, harassing you, stalking you, and the fear has to be reasonable. For instance, if you had a domestic relationship with somebody and you are no longer in that relationship and you fear that they will be assaulting you, or they are going, crazy over you and calling you incessantly, threatening that if you don't get back together with them, then they will harm you in some way, then yes, file for a PPO. And if you feel as though by that person knowing that you filed for the PPO, then that's going to incite them even further, then you want to get that PPO heard ex parte, which means immediately without the presence of that other person. And oftentimes the court will award and grant the PPO.
I argued with a good friend of mine yesterday. I told her about this segment coming up, and she said a PPO isn't worth the paper that's written on. What happens when somebody violates a PPO?
Then you have to do your due diligence, call your local police, say that this person violated the PPO and the protections afforded me from the PPO, and then oftentimes that person who violated will be charged with stalking. Or violating of the PPO, yes. And then it becomes more criminal in nature.
Now, you mentioned cyber stalking earlier. What in the world is cyber stalking?
Cyber stalking is something that's happening more and more these days, and it's when people post things on social media, through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They are either threatening you or doing things that are oftentimes, you hear the word creepy now, if they're creeping on you, and they're showing pictures of you that you were never in those places, and so they're photoshopping you in places with them, or they want to, be in a relationship with you and you have no idea who that person is, or they're saying they're going to come to your work or be at your home. That is cyber stalking, and if 2 or more incidences of that take place, then yes, you have grounds to file for a PPO.
Okay. So, one quick question before we go to break. Is it easier to file a PPO in Wayne County or in Oakland County?
That's the never-ending question, and sometimes it just depends on the judge or the visiting judge who sees the actual petition for the PPO. And I always tell my clients, if they want a PPO, it's often better to make sure your stories are very detailed, the dates of the alleged incidences, if you have a police report that you can attach, or a police report incident number that you can attach to the petition for the PPO, you are usually more successful in getting the PPO granted. Honestly, it just depends.
So in terms of the process, is it easier in Oakland County than it is in Wayne County?
It's a very similar process. You can even fill out the petition online.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then you can bring it to court, and then you wait. And again, if you want something heard immediately and you want the ex parte PPO granted, then it's usually you're there for a few hours.
Okay. How can people contact you?
They can call 855-CALL-CRONIN or check out my website, callcroninlaw.com.
Okay. You're going to come back later this month?
I will.
We're going to talk about DUIs.
Okay.
We're going to do it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back, and we're going to talk to Dr. Woodruff about getting your kids ready for schools and this proprietary smile technique he has. I can't wait to see that. Stay tuned to Detroit Wants to Know. We'll be right back.